Welcome. My name is Matt Cohen, and I'm the visionary and president for Replenex. Replenex is an 80-year-old industrial supply company that was founded by my grandfather and great-grandfather in 1946. This video is part of a series that we are producing to recognize our 80-year history of providing reliable supply chains to manufacturers throughout North America. Well, I'm really excited to be here today. My name is Matt Cohen. I am the president of Replenex, a fourth-generation business owned by a family in the industrial supply space, celebrating our 80th year in business. With me today is Don Considine, our vice president of sales, and Ron Linsten from Radiac. Ron, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Ron Linsten. I'm the director of sales for Radiac Abrasives, responsible for the United States and Mexico. Been with the organization for about 3 years, and Matt and I have developed a relationship over the last 20 years together. So we've transcended over a couple of different manufacturers for myself.
I'm a little aghast. 20 years?
Yeah.
And to be perfectly candid, I am very cognizant of the fact that as a multi-generational business, I got to inherit a variety of relationships that went along with Replenex's deep ties into the industrial supplier community, because you came into the channel not through abrasives.
No.
And at the same time as you've moved through your career, you've found ways to stay connected into industrial manufacturing and staying with the channel.
Absolutely. So when you get into this business, it's a passion, right? And so, and there's the rest of us that are in this business also share that same passion. And so as you've developed throughout the years, you develop those relationships with the folks that have the same passion as you do. And the thing that's great about the industrial supply business is that there's no 2 days alike. There may be days that are similar, but there are no 2 days alike. So it's a constant change, and that's the part of the most fun about it is the challenge of the day. So what's today's challenge going to bring us, and then coming up with those solutions. Not only in my previous roles, but in my current role, is how do we help change things for customers? And that's one of the things that for me, especially with a company like yours, because we share that. I mean, there's the big boxes out there, and the big boxes have their place, right? They've got these standard of rules, and these are the things that we have to follow. We have the ability to pivot, and that's the fun about it.
I think Don likes to refer to it as being in a battleship versus being in a speedboat, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we have the ability to be creative and adapt and change and make decisions on our own versus the guardrails, right?
Right.
Of the big box guys that this is the way we do business, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, this is the way you're going to do business with us. No, we can be flexible, we can be creative, we can customize.
Right, really understanding what the end user is looking for in the solution for their problem, and having the time to be able to sit down and actually listen to them, which is what you don't get when you start to get too big of a scale for a company.
Well, and the irony in all of that is that that's actually part of how Replenex started. That when my grandfather and great-grandfather won their first bid of Army surplus, it was grinding wheels.
Oh, there you go.
They loaded the grinding wheels into the trunk of the car. They went to see a friend who was in manufacturing, and they said, "Tell me about these products. What do they do?" But it was a start, and the start went to what you and Don have both spoken about, which is this idea that independent businesses having the innate curiosity to go to customers and say, where's your biggest problem? How is your manufacturing hindered from moving forward with a better quality product, being able to produce more product at a same or similar price point? And how do we help you solve that problem? It's one of the things that Replenex has valued, and I personally have valued, about the relationship that we've gotten to create with you and Radiac. Our relationship with Radiac predated you.
It did.
And then when you came on board as a leader at Radiac, it allowed us to reinvest in a stronger way with Radiac.
Yeah, I mean, it really helped me out because I already had an understanding of who Replenex was and their go-to-market strategy and all of those things. So then, as I got into this role with Radiac Abrasives, now I already know your strengths. I know my strengths. How do I match those strengths together? And then I also know what my weaknesses are. So if you were to come to me and say, "Hey, I'd like to be able to do this," I can be honest with you and say, "I'm not your guy for that," and then so we can continue to move forward. Because that's the part that we need to do, and I guess that's where some manufacturers, I don't want to promise anything I can't deliver, because if I promise something to you that I can't deliver, then you can't you make that promise to your customer, and at the end of the day, you're the person who's going to be standing in front of that customer with having to explain why that didn't happen. So that's where that honesty and that relationship that we built over time, that we can have the courage to have that conversation. Say, you want to know what? I'm not your guy for this, or I am your guy, and you know that you can count on us.
Some people may not know this, but Radiac, even though it is owned by Tiralit, it is a domestically manufactured product for the most part.
We are. So we are owned by Tiralit, which is an Austrian company, but we have 3 manufacturing facilities in the United States: Marysville, Washington, Salem, Illinois, and Oswego, Illinois. We manufacture about 80 to 85% of our products domestically. And in today's world now, with all of the things that are going on in this global economy and the tariffs, we're starting to pull the technology in from our other manufacturing facilities into the United States. The goal is to get to the 95%. The stretch goal would be to get to 100, but it's not realistic. No. But the goal is to get to 95% domestically manufactured products for our customers, and then that way we bypass tariffs. We also have the ability to pivot when we need to pivot. And then we've got 11 application engineers that are spread across the country to be able to provide that technical expertise to you on those products that we're making domestically.
And that's huge, with lead times often hitting 16 weeks at times since COVID.
Correct.
On and off. It's come down to 6, 8, but sometimes as long as 6.
And it pulls out some of the things that you run into with with problems in different parts of the country. So our manufacturing lead time may be one number, but then you couple that with, is there a strike at the port? Is there a problem? Is there a problem with shipping overseas? All of those things that tie into that. If we're manufacturing these products here domestically, worst case scenario, it's a little bit unheard of, but we can use a hotshot truck if we have to.
Sure. How has the technology changed, or is it shared since the Tiralit Radiac coming together?
Yeah,
is it shared back and forth?
It is. So we share back and forth. So it's sharing best practices, right? And so what will happen is we'll start to bring that product into the United States, understand where its strengths are, where can we help customers. And as we build the scale of volume, it doesn't make sense to manufacture it overseas because we want to shorten the cross-ocean lead time. So then what we'll do is find out the equipment that we need to have here in the United States, bring that equipment in, and then produce that material in the United States. We send it back to Tiralit to be tested to make sure that we are producing the exact same quality. And then once we get the check off on that, we start doing that in the United States domestically. Genesis 2 is a perfect example of the technology that we've done. That's in the super abrasive side, where we've pulled technology from Tiralit into the United States, now manufactured right here in Oswego, Illinois.
Which is a huge benefit and a value to the customer if we can deliver it in the right application.
I think some people miss is more along the lines of what Don was talking about, which is that additional foreign investment, that additional technology investment, and how Radiac goes to market with driving cost savings and providing competitive manufacturing advantages for customers. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so what we do, I mentioned our application engineering department. So we have 11 application engineers that are across the United States. And so our application engineers are actually, they're not school taught. They come from the spindle. They can speak the language of the gentleman or ladies that they're talking to in the manufacturing facilities. So they understand because they've actually walked a mile in their shoes.
And that goes a long way.
They can speak the language, and it's not just they can speak and I'm a loss for word, but it's like a dialect, right? Because they're not speaking the same, they're not necessarily speaking English to us,
Right.
and so they can relate to one another. So they also know the questions to ask, and then will spend the time with that individual to understand what it. One of the things that a lot of manufacturers will come do, they'll come in and they'll just throw something at the spindle and say, "Hey, try this." What we do
And,
is
and not be there for the test.
right, and then not be there for the test, or they give them 10 things to try, and then which one do I land on? Our application engineering department will come in, spend the time to understand what it is they're trying to accomplish,
And get that feedback real time.
and then come up with a specification that's to that problem. And then once that specification gets manufactured, then we come back in with the application engineer, and they sit at the spindle, and we document everything. So speeds, feeds, number of parts produced, the finish that you wanted to get, the length of time, how long did this particular product last for that, and then document all those costs together. And then there's times that we're going to find that we're not going to be the cheapest guy. But at the end of the day, it's not really what you're paying for the individual product, is how many parts can you produce with that product? And that's where the cost savings comes in. So even though I might be $1 higher or $100 higher, at the end of the day, if I produce more parts and and I show you productivity savings, that's the win.
100%. Speed up the process. Product lasts longer.
There's this myth, I think, that goes along with the providing of tooling and abrasives and other industrial supplies, that there is money to squeeze out of the price. And what I really appreciate and what Replenex really values is that with James Mohagan, your local sales representative, and the engineers that back him up, the focus is much more, as you've said, how are we going to drive value beyond the price of a wheel? Because there's still only so much that can be done on the price of a wheel, but there is almost an infinite amount of things that can be done to reduce the total cost of manufacturing, to really be focused on that unique way in which a particular customer is making something and honing in on that, no pun intended. But it makes a big difference.
It does, and it's one of the things that when a lot of customers will get stuck on a price of a wheel, but there's all these other soft costs that are involved with it that nobody pays attention to. Like how long does it take you to swap out one?
Right.
So if this is a big CNC machine with a 20-inch wheel on it, that doesn't happen in 5 minutes. That could be an hour, 2-hour downtime. Yep. Thank you. And you also run into, now you've got to get it set up, because it's not just swapping it out and turning it on and go. You have to dress it in. You have to get all the parameters to make sure it's going. So you could end up with 3 or 4 hours of downtime that is lost production. So yes, the wheel was cheaper, but it lasted 4 hours less. So how many parts did you produce with that? Right. And those are the things that we'll point out as we work together with the customer to show them, hey, these are not just the number of parts that we did, but you also, your operator is spending more time pulling parts off. He's not spending time making swap outs. A lot of adjustments to it, so we get to help them dial in the machine so it's actually humming.
But speed is one thing, but consistency is important too, right? I mean, these processes, they want to be consistent and repeatable and impact the quality of the customer's product as well.
Correct.
What I love about this part of this conversation is that there is both an art and a science to manufacturing, and especially when we start to talk about grinding wheels, right?
It is.
And AI can be very directional in terms of the science and what minerals and what things need to be part of a grinding wheel in order to make it really effective based on the application that it's performing. But the art, and whether it's what James is doing or your application engineers are doing or what you get to do when you're in the field, that time in the field to really understand how the product is performing and what the impediments are to higher performance. That art, how do we apply the technology that may be directional from the partnership with Tierlet, directional through AI and AI-related tools, to bring that together to bring value to the customer, which is really, if I take that a little bit farther, it's one of the reasons why Don and I and the Replenex team are so excited to have Radiac as a key partner in our 80th year celebration. Because to be able to work with Radiac and drive those savings to the customer really is how this business was started. It was how Radiac has maintained its competitive position in the marketplace and really drives opportunities for customers, which is also why I'm really happy for us to have an 80th anniversary promotion that we are doing together.
Absolutely.
And this is where everybody can go to Replenex.com/Replenex80, that's Replenex80, and read about the promotion that we've put together to help customers save money and really take advantage of all of the technical product knowledge that your people have and all of the ways in which we can bring value to the customer.
Yeah, and we're really excited about that. I mean, 80 years is a long time, right? I mean, and we're excited to be part of it. We want to continue to grow and looking forward to the next 80.